Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daryl Kemsley Show. My name is Daryl Kemsley, and thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. This is the very first episode, and I am just so honored and so excited to be here. On this podcast, I'm going to be talking about anything and everything with a lot of guests that I respect in multiple fields of industry and just multiple practices of spirituality, meditation, or anything that encompasses character development and gaining a sense of awareness and purpose. Thank you again for tuning in. And today I'm actually talking about a very, very big subject that I'm so excited to talk about. And what this subject is how to self-start. And I don't want to make this podcast about me. I know that's not very convincing with the name of the show being the Daryl Kemsley Show, but given that this is the very first episode and we're talking about how to self-start, and I am the CEO and co-founder of a financial technology company called Self-Start, aimed towards financial literacy, I think it's a very good opportunity to kind of just do a very brief introduction. I am a serial entrepreneur since the age of 18, and my entrepreneurship has really changed from this age of 18 to 25 because from the very little success I found a little early on in my career, it actually spun me into a whole world of, and I'll talk about this in a future episode. I don't want to distract from today's topic, but for the sake of understanding where I'm coming from, and why I'm doing this podcast is I truly believe that I have been so privileged to experience all the trouble and afflictions and just heartbreak and a world of problems at a young age that comes from finding a tiny little minuscule amount of success and also tiny minuscule amount of 15 seconds of fame. And through that experience is actually what broke the character of Daryl Kemsley for the first time, like receiving thousands of messages of negativity and hate online just from something I was a victim of just completely changed my understanding of the world, and it put me in such a pity-driven state for honestly about 18 months to 2 years of my life where I was just suicidal and wouldn't really leave my basement. I would just be smoking pot out of my basement, blowing through my savings, did not work, did not do anything in my life besides the bare necessity to just survive. Now, through this time, it's what gave me the very, very, very beautiful understanding of universal virtues or truths that I live my life based off now. And it's truly what helped me realize what gives me happiness and what I truly believe gives us as this human collective, this human frequency, what gives us a sense of purpose and happiness, if I were to be so bold to speak for other people. And of course, it's not completely applicable, but I truly believe that we are all connected. And it wasn't until I was able to just have so much confronted at me at such a young age was I able to break my character of ego and realize the behavioral patterns and the reasons why I was doing the things I was doing and manifesting and creating the reality that I was. I'm not going to sit here and rile you up and motivate you to go out and make all the money in the world, because that's just perpetuating loneliness. That's just perpetuating unhappiness. That's just perpetuating this lack of communication, of active, aware communication that we're experiencing as a society today. No, the simple truth is hard and simple at the same time. A little bit more about me and my psyche. Let's just go into it. How do I self-start? And as much as you don't like this answer, the answer is you need to figure out what your definition of success is. Do not be sold by this overprescribed definition of success that our society loves to push, that it's based off any numeric value of money or whatever. Now, sure, that could contribute to your overall success, and I don't even mean this in a cliche or cheesy way, first and foremost. This is in a very real sense. Case in point, if you skip this entire first step, and even before getting to reverse engineering, but just completely skip the step of developing the discipline to figure out what you want out of your life, which should be the easiest thing you have the discipline to do, because it's like, what do you want to do with your existence? What do you want to do with your life? You should be able to really, really work into your psyche and try to figure that out for yourself, because success in numeric value is so overprescribed, and that's for a purposeful reason, to make everyone unsuccessful, because we don't even know where to start. And that's the boat we're in today. You, for example, grew up, and in your formative years, let's say you're an above intelligence person. In your formative years, your parents for some reason neglected you, or just never gave you any validation, or maybe they were even physically or verbally abusive. But whenever you showed signs of intelligence, you received validation and love in return. Then you may kind of develop this trauma character, this ego mask that you put on, where your entire character of your being is based off of this value given and love validation received reward, where you go out and your entire character is just to feel loved and feel enough off of proving something. And that proof, if goes unchecked, that drive, if goes unchecked, could be extremely dangerous. It's extremely helpful if you want to be the best and the best and the best and the best in the world for something, in boxing, in any athletic, like Michael Jordan, like Mike Tyson. If you did not have that insane ego drive that was some sort of compensation, or some sort of I'm going to prove them wrong, or some sort of mentality, it is extremely hard to be the number one in the world and just a world champion. But if you're listening to this, you're probably not trying to be a world champion. You're probably just trying to not be financially stressed, have an optimized income, be financially independent, and be able to just afford things that you like and love your family. And in order to do that, you may not need the 10, 15, 20, 25 million dollars that you may think you need and everybody wants and says they want and everybody's going for. Because that's a very good way to keep something completely imaginary and fake and out of our realm. And it's because the money is just overprescribed, and the actual success and what that is isn't. So very, very, very first step is actually figuring out what that success means for you. And if that success means to you having a giant mansion and having staff work for the home and having that lifestyle that comes with huge stress, comes with looking behind your shoulders with your friends, family, with people tripping on your property, with lawsuits, with backstabbing. If you want to have that, and that's your definition of success, beautiful, 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 and go for it. But at least figure out that's what you want. But most of the time, I would say we just want financial independence, and we just want the feeling of validation and growth, and that we're doing something. We just want a sense of purpose. And if that's the case, then it is completely useless to be going after this fictitious number, $5 million, $1 million, or even $500,000, if it's going to mean absolutely nothing to you. And that's something I want to clear out right now. It may mean absolutely nothing to you if it's not within your definition of success. Case in point, people who are addicted to money and become billionaires and try to become trillionaires, right? Elon Musk, and I love him, great innovator, might be a bad example, but let's just say someone else. But there's always going to be a Jeff Bezos. There's always going to be an Elon Musk. And if your drive is not your own definition of success, but it's just money in general, then how are you going to be happy? There's always going to be someone with a bigger yacht. There's always going to be someone with a better jet. There's always going to be somebody who owns a better NBA team than you. So if your definition of success is completely based off of receiving validation for your own love, and that's how your kind of your drive and compensation is by like, hey, look at this number I have in my bank account, that's why I know I deserve to love myself because look at this, then we have a very, very, very big problem. And I may be rambling a little bit, but what I'm talking about is the fundamentals of figuring out what drives you and what makes you fulfilled. whether that is some form of purpose or whether that's some form, and it may be wealth for you. Who knows? I can't speak for you, but what's the point of grinding for years and years and ending your career and realizing then, oh my gosh, I've been doing all of this for some sort of compensation-based reward, but not for myself truly. What's the point of going out there and living such a cutthroat life and is sacrificing so much and grinding and making this when at the end of the day I actually realize, oh wow, I really, really love my partner and I wish I would have fulfilled a better life with them pursuing that and a family. And this is obviously very cliche, probably a bad example, but it's very real that people mischeck their drive for their ego drive for things. And let's talk about many things right now. We could talk about politicians and how they spend their whole lives wanting to seem smart among their peers, and they become president, and the verdict of that is, oh my gosh, now half the country just thinks you're dumb. And it's kind of a bad trade-off. You spend your whole life trying to be smart, and everyone just thinks you're an idiot and you're a joke. And that's only on the micro. If we were to talk about the macro consequences of that, of an entire country just stuck in red tape and stuck in this limbo state of not being able to really innovate and provide equality and more freedoms to all parties of this country, then we obviously also have a problem there. And I'm going to argue that all of this just comes from skipping the very, 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 very first step of success, which is finding out what that success means for you. Okay, now that you've really thought about it, and I mean it, think about it. Think about, imagine your future partner. Imagine how many kids you want. And obviously, your life is going to change, and your desires and your wants are going to change. You don't know everything. But what you can do is go in and have the discipline and figure out more or less the lifestyle. Even if the lifestyle you want is absolutely extravagant, is it as much as you think it is? Do you have to spend all the mental bandwidth on trying to make an extraordinary amount of money if, for example, $300,000 a year will cut it? Let's say you make $5 million saved in the bank with a conservative 6% return a year, so that's $300K. Can you live below $300K a year and still have the lifestyle you want and still not be touching your savings? If so, why not do that? And that's the point I'm trying to make here. Rather than just going after nothing, which is just a lot of money. That's what I want, a lot of money. Just actually take the discipline to figure out what you want out of your life. And even if the answer is a lot of money, it might not be as much as you think it is. And if you find out and discover that your success doesn't even entail that much money, then that's absolutely fantastic too. So you don't spend an entire life grinding away and working on and achieving something that you could have gotten in square one if you were to just confront yourself and sit down with yourself and figure out what you want out of this life. Moving on. All right. Now that you've visualized, and I mean truly visualize this, truly, think about your partner, think about your family, how many kids, think about how much it costs per kid on average in a household if you want to live an above average life with your kids. Think about the lifestyle, the toys, the amount of homes you want to do. Now it's time for research. What I want you to do is go out and write all of this on a Google Doc. Create a Google Doc and this is what I believe to be my ideal life, and this is my definition of success. And write it down. Write down your definition of success. Write down the house you see yourself in. Write down the amount of responsibility you see yourself having. Write down just all of that. Now you're in research stage. Fill in the numbers. Find the numbers for that house, for that type of neighborhood, for all that, and put it into this. And do that for every single stage. Find out how much, okay, I see myself wanting 3 kids. You know what I mean? This is my ideal life. And this might sound dumb because it's like, hey, how do I know what I'm going to want 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 20 years from now? And obviously things are going to change. But this is a very important exercise for you to actually dig into your own psyche and begin to ask yourself the important questions of life and begin to form your definition of success. And even if it changes through time, that's completely okay. But you're at least starting with something and it's becoming real. How is it becoming real? With the numbers you come up with for every single aspect on this sheet, right, that you're making on this document, you now have a very tangible number. For example, if my $5 million saved up at a very conservative 6% return sounded good to you, if $5 million in a bank, or not technically in a bank, but invested with a very conservative 6% return per year for $300K income per year, if that sounds fantastic and great to you, now you have a number to work towards. You need $5 million to save up, to invest, to be making this very conservative 6%. And now that you have that number, and again, this number could be from that, or it could be from the sheet, like the number of the house, like actually do the research and figure out that actual number. And once you have that X, once you have that number, now you're on your path to success with something tangible and real. And now we could introduce the full aspects of reverse engineering. Reverse engineer, work from behind. The number is $5 million. Okay, I'm going to give myself 5 years to save up $5 million and work behind from that. That's $1 million per year. And that's $83,000 monthly. And guess what? You started from working at a job, wanting to be successful, wanting to be financially freedom, wanting that success, to now knowing exactly what you want and having an actual dollar amount attached to the vision of what you want, and now the numbers needed to get there. $83,000 per month. Now you stick in the realms where you make that money. For example, I'm not going to go and try and make a giant tech company and try to make or even shoot for millions and millions and millions of dollars per year if I just need to make 83 grand a month. Maybe I could look into selling high ticket items. Maybe I could look into some real estate investments. Maybe if I'm just starting myself, maybe I could go and do summer sales, save up for a few years, get my Roth IRA taken in, and then start my business doing door to door. If I start my door to door company, how many people do I have to reach? If I start my online consulting business, if I sell high ticket items at $5,000 a piece, how many do I need to sell to hit 83,000? If I want to do drop shipping, how long do I have to be in the business to scale up to an $83,000 average drop shipping business? Do the research. Don't be afraid to do the research. It's not like Daryl, cool, I figured out that I do want money, and that is what success is to me. And I'm not compensating for any childhood trauma and any force of ego to my knowledge. And I really am not. But how do I go about making 20 grand a month or 40 grand a month, which is my actual number that I receive from this exercise? And I will say to that, stick to the exact niche of that income and look at industries particular to that. If it's just 5 grand a week, go learn how to code. The argument I'm making here is that money is absolutely everywhere, and the opportunity to make money is everywhere. And the problem is people are just too distracted with too many opportunities and too little direction. And it's like, how is that possible? How could you look at this world and think that there's opportunity everywhere? But that is the magical truth. Even if you've done this exercise and you realize you want to make millions and millions of dollars, and you want to be an entrepreneur and create and innovate, and there's a purpose behind what you do. But anyway, the point is you want to make millions, and just start. You could even start with drop shipping, and then that could be a very attainable $5,000 a month business. Very, very start. You could start with using our company self-starts in 0% working capital for 18 months, 0%. Now, on average, you receive $35K. Bring that into drop shipping. Obviously, don't invest it all. Be smart. Work smart. Work small. Work lean. Run lean. Figure out what works, and then scale with profitability. One item works, order more. invest in better marketing, invest in better funnels, and then eventually you could scale all the business all the way to warehouse and fulfillment. Get your own warehouse, get your own fulfillment, get your own actual factory connection from China. Whatever you decide to go into, there's opportunity everywhere, and even within that industry, you could scale the business and squeeze more profitability to hit your numbers. But it's all about the mental discipline of figuring out that number. And if you find out you want to live a more low-key life, but like realistically you need just 10 grand a month, 12 grand a month, dude, awesome. Now you know you don't need to go and be a doctor. You don't need to go and get super into debt and with even a 4-year degree, and just go to any boot camp and start coding. And you could very competitively, being fluent in the latest languages, be making anywhere from 8 grand a month to start, and then scale up to 12. So it's just opportunities everywhere. And with that number, it gives you something tangible to look within industries and a sense of direction for you to start on this new journey. And none of this is going to come easy. It's not easy to run a successful dropshipping company, but it's a lot easier, and it has 100% more likelihood of actually happening if you're doing it with a purpose and you're doing it with the cause as a step to help you towards your goals. Alrighty, moving on. So, step 1, we've already talked about this, but figure out what you want, define your definition of success, do the research to figure out that number tag that you need in the lifestyle you want, and now you could work towards a career of saving at those actual numbers. You could buy a course from a professional, and you could see what realm of industry you should be in. You shouldn't be in a certain industry if you don't need to be. If you don't be in an industry that you could only be making 5 grand a month, or you need to be making 30, and vice versa. But moving forward, once you have all that figured out, which really is so crucial for sustainability, now we have actual successful habits and virtues. Again, I am not a believer of motivation whatsoever, because motivation does not create consistency. Habits create consistency. Good habits create consistency, and consistency creates the life that you want. Motivation is not near enough to get you through the consistency of what it takes to become successful, whatever your definition of success is, because it's probably going to be one that requires work and actual virtues. And when I say virtues, I mean fundamental, just kind of policies and rules that you live by, and morals that you live by for yourself, that fulfill you and sustain you, that we as a society don't kind of talk about, but actually do have detrimental effect on whether we succeed and fail. And I can't just go ahead and tell you what my virtues that run my life can be for yours, but I can go ahead and be genuine and say, in everything I've learned the hard way. It may sound like it's hypocritical, but that's for a reason. Been there, done that. Everything I've experienced in my life that I've been so privileged to be able to go through and allow me to have this new perspective and perception is all from this gritty work. And developing these virtues, because they're hard to maintain, and they really dictate whether or not you're successful or not. What am I talking about? Okay. And again, these virtues are kind of just like universal rule, if that's a way of understanding them. And there are many universal rules of just how the universe operates. And this is from what I have found, and this is, again, my opinion. But for the sake of conversation and time, the biggest ones has to be, I believe, the gift of giving. It's a universal rule of the tithe, 10%. We could talk about that some other time. But right now, let me focus on the rule of equal and mutual relationships, because energy is everything. If you're finding yourself depressed or feeling picked on, or feeling like you don't have any extra energy and you're more tired than normal, it's because there's an energy drain in your life. And if you can't adopt the successful habits of cutting the energy drains out of your life, which is so hard for a lot of people to cut out people who are cuddling you to a T, that is preventing growth, that is one of the most toxic behaviors in your life. And it's also on the opposite end, obviously, somebody who's just always getting you in trouble or is getting themselves into trouble, which is also negatively affecting your life, and that's an energy drain. We have to understand that everything is energy. And if you find yourself just being more tired than normal than ever, I truly find it almost impossible to build a truly successful life if you do not go through the universal virtues and principles of fulfilling your own foundation and making sure that energy input and output is mutual. And I'm saying a lot of things right now, but that is the key to so much of life. Mutual energy input and output. And I want you to ask yourself right now, do you have relationships in your life that are destructive to you? And why are you holding on to them? Now, don't let the feeling of loyalty betray you. Don't hold on to something because loyalty is kind of revered in this society. It's like, no, we've been friends since the first grade, so if he's in jail, I'm going to go to jail with him, or I'm going to or whatever. I know those are extreme examples, but that is all dictated in principles revered by society that's purposefully set up to keep people enslaved and the top on the top and everyone else on the bottom. Do not let this understanding of loyalty to anyone else but yourself be a real principle and virtue in your life. And that goes to everyone. And that does not make you selfish. That makes you successful. And why do I say that? If you were, and for example, me, the reason I could speak so passionately about this particular subject, because this is one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn, is cutting people out of my life. As a natural empath, I find that almost so difficult because I love people and I love everyone and I just want to help them. But guess what? If at the end of the day, I can't be more productive in my work and be building towards something and be progressing towards something because I do not have the energy, because it's always outputted towards that frequency in which I shouldn't be invested in, whether you like it or not, you're not going to be successful. If this isn't really making any sense, let me just put an example to it. If your friends, oh my gosh, I could just use an example out of my life because I run a company right now. And my old friends got the DEA sent to my house from buying so much drugs off the dark web when I've told them they could only live with me if they just stay clean from drugs. And this is years ago. Imagine if that circle was still in my life and that was within my reputation with everything I'm trying to do. And it might sound selfish to let your personal ambitions to go in the way of, oh my gosh, I don't want this person's reputation to hurt me. But that is not selfish whatsoever, because I need the good reputation to go out and accomplish and help with this company, particularly Self-Start, the millions of people that we could go out and will help. And who am I to prioritize one or two lives that may not even be as deserving of the help because they're not even asking for it and they're not doing the things for themselves to receive the help because they're not at that point in their life, and neglect and not be able to do what I need to be able to help the millions. In order to serve the macro, it really takes sacrifice, and so much of the sacrifice comes in the micro decisions of who you allow access to you and who you allow access in your life. And this is both ways. There's examples of that in the scale, but there's also the opposite of the scale. There's the people who cuddle you and do everything for you, who are there to scratch your back no matter what, who do not even have lives themselves and just seem so obsessively cuddling to you, where it completely inhibits you from any self-love and any gratification and any outreach to your potential, because you do not understand that you could go out and do hard things. You do not receive the self-love that comes with doing something you did not know you could go and do because you're just too cuddled to begin with to even go try, or have too much safety net. That is 100% just as toxic and needs to be cut out in order for you to have a sustainable, successful life. And to bring this to another point, there's this incredible man. His name is Jaden Lear. Big shout out. I've been friends with him for a couple years now. I knew him back in high school, kind of knew of him 10 years ago, but now we've been friends for a couple years. We got him an apartment. We got him actually a few apartments because it's been a couple years. Now he's living in St. George. He's, for a large part of his adult life, was very addicted to many substances, has done everything from meth, heroin, was addicted to meth. He's dealt drugs, and he is legitimately one of my best friends, and I keep him in my life. And you're like, Daryl, what? Didn't you just say cut those people out? No, it's not about the past, and it's not about things you've done. It's about your mindset and where you are now. With Jaden, case in point, he was 100% okay with cutting out the negative influences in life. He was 100% committed to helping himself. He was 100% committed in going through the hard processes of kicking addiction and finding self-love the old school way and be sustained and find success. And I absolutely love him to death, and I always support him as long as he's making those decisions for himself and benefiting himself. And he's been nothing but a blessing for my life as well. It's been nothing but a mutual relationship where he's added tremendous joy and legitimate value and ideas into my circle and into my life. So it's not about like, don't stereotype people. It's like, oh, I need to cut him off. He does this. Oh, I need to do that. No, you're not here to judge anyone, but you are here to protect yourself and understand and know if the people in your life are committed to serving themselves or if they're committed to just be doing what they're doing. And if the answer is the latter and you're trying to chase the success that comes with a higher standard, then it's time to do what it takes to move on and let go from that. And that's one principle of sacrifice within success that has to happen. And this is very, very, very universal. And it's that principle of sacrifice. Success isn't sacrificing bad for good. Success is sacrificing good for great. And sometimes it's even more difficult that it's sacrificing great for amazing. What about everything else? What about besides sacrifice? What about besides knowing exactly what you want? Besides knowing what industries you should get into? And besides knowing there's going to be a lot of sacrifice involved? Again, the secret is consistency. And how do you hit that consistency? Via good habits. Now, habits are very, very different. I can't prescribe to you habits that you should pick up that will really transform your life. I could maybe advise some habits that I've picked up that really transform my life. But again, at the end of the day, my definition of success may be a night and day variation from your own personal definition of success and what you are going for. But for me, in my life, in my foundation, for me to be able to show up every single day and have a productive day and be able to build, I have to have my pillars hit. And my pillars are fitness, fasting, meditation, and affirmations. Every single day, 7 days a week, I start my day at the gym with fitness. And I don't do this because I have any physical goals. I don't do this because I have any body goals, but I do this for the mental effects that it gives me. It is huge. The health effects, the mental effects, getting my dopamine levels moving, getting my blood flowing, getting my sweat going, physically choosing to do the hard thing in the morning and push up hard weights that weren't designed to be easily pushed up, physically going out there and facing that opposition and getting it done right off in the beginning of the day sets you up with that little high of self-love and validation because you know you could go and do hard things. Fasting. I intermittent fast, and I could do a whole podcast on all the tremendous health benefits of this and why humans as hunter-gatherers are designed to be fasting and how overnutrition is really the cause of every chronic issue out there. But for the sake of conversation and time, let's just stick to this topic of success. And for me, for my success, intermittent fasting is a huge, huge, huge part of it. I think clearer. I fast 19 hours a day every day, and I eat in a 5-hour eating window. I eat just as many calories as everyone else, just as many meals as everyone else, but it's just within that 5 hours that I allow myself to eat while I'm fasting the other 19 hours. And this creates 19 hours of extreme focus, mental clarity, physical strength, no fatigue. And 19 hours is a big, big, big chunk of your day. And that's a big pillar for me. Meditation. Now, meditation is so important to create that energy barrier between you and the problems that come with you in the day-to-day that might chip away at your energy levels and cause you to be in a deficit. So now all of your energy is being destructive rather than constructive. But it's one of the hardest things to get into because it's so taboo with its hippie roots. It's like, oh yeah, meditation. Oh yeah, I can't sit there and not think. It is so important to visualize your day and to see yourself doing things. And we could go into the scientific studies and journals of athletes in controlled groups who visualize their lifts, who could go out and lift actually 15 to 20% heavier than those who don't. We could go into the pain studies of people who visualize beforehand. But the actual meditation is so important. And for me, I'm going to be completely honest. Meditating 30 minutes a day every day is not part of my pillar. But doing my breath work, which is a form of meditation, at least twice a day, is absolutely. So twice a day, I do an exercise that's called box breathing. And each time I do it for approximately 2 minutes. So this is just 4 minutes into my day. This is just 4 minutes every single day of my life that's completely transformed my life. And what this box breathing is a 4-second and full seconds. These are full Mississippi seconds here of inhaling, 4 seconds of holding, 4 seconds of exhale, 4 seconds of holding, 4 seconds of inhale. And what you do is you do this with intention. You do this with dispelling negative energy, and you do this with the actual thought and visualization of putting a mental barrier, an energy force field between you, your aura, and all the BS in the day pretty much. And this has transcribed my life. And the last thing, affirmations. There's about a list of 15 affirmations that I've memorized that I repeat to myself 10 times a day, every single day of my life. And I'm just going to be genuine. Let me just go ahead and do a few of them real quick. I'm powerful. I'm successful. I'm intelligent. I'm love. I operate at the frequency of love and light. I'm a joy to be around. I will accomplish everything my heart desires. I'm loved and I am enough. I forgive myself. I let go of all my anger. I let go of my anxiety. And there's a few more personal ones. But these affirmations I do constantly, and it transcribes my life. It transcribes my emotional well-being. It transcribes how I feel about myself. It transcribes just hearing myself. It's almost like I'm casting a spell on myself because there's so much weight behind the words that you say. There's so much weight behind the thoughts that you think and the subconscious of your thoughts. Now imagine the words. That might as well be a magic spell by the time all that thought is vocalized and verbalized out of your mouth of all that energy required. And that has truly transformed my life. So again, with fitness, with fasting, with meditation, with affirmations, all those things maybe take 2 hours of my day combined every single day. And the most of it comes in the fitness. The fasting, the meditation, the affirmation, all that just happens in real time. That's just a couple minutes. But me devoting myself to the discipline, to doing those things every single day, has given me the life-changing habits that's allowed me to have the increased energy and sustainability to work through hurdles, not be defeated by problems that come out, not get disappointed by rejections and quit, but actually power through and be productive and be consistent and persevere. And it's because I have that foundation, I have that pillar. Now, I'm not here to say that those exact things are going to work for you. I can't say that. But it 100% has completely transformed my life. And I truly believe just adopting maybe a few of these principles, definitely the act of sacrifice in terms of your network, your friends, even family. And all of this is also very, very, very based on the time of your life you're in. Everyone has stages of their life. And in this grinding stage, when you're building and creating, that's what we have to do. And once we're in a different stage where we're reaping the fruits of our labor, years down the road of this, then feel free to go back and help anyone you ever wanted, and be friends with absolutely anyone you wanted to be friends with, because you're in a different stage of your life. You're already done and had the energy and built something. And I'm just talking about right now the simplest ways to have the energy to go out and build. Now, this may not have been anything close to the podcast that you wanted to hear. This may not have been anything close to, oh my gosh, go out and do this, and you're going to make this money. And that's because I'm not here to trick you, and I'm not here to fool you. I'm not here to tell you to quit your job and go out and start a business and make a bunch of money and use my company Self-Start to have the $35,000 0% interest to be able to quit your job and use that and invest in your company. Sure, you can do that, but I'm not here to tell you to do that, because that is 100% moot, and you're back to square one if you were to create something that's hugely monetizable from your efforts, but that does not bring happiness and or success to your life. I hope this made sense. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Again, this was the very, very, very first episode, so it's a little bit more sporadic. Conversations in the future is going to be with the guests, where it's going to be more back and forth rather than just me talking in this microphone. But I do want to end with something. From years of trauma, from years of being bullied, of years of ridicule, of years of being overweight, a speech impediment, not fitting in anywhere, not having friends anywhere, I've had the most ridiculous amount of privilege of finding my self-love through the realization that things happen for me and not to me. That everything has happened for me to become who I need to be to handle the responsibilities I will have in this lifetime. And I'm no one special. I know if you're listening to this, there's an exact same purpose that's so divine for you. And it may not be the exact roadmap of A, B, C, spend $20,000 here, do this, sell this stock, make this money. But it is a roadmap to finding your purpose, which is the most ultimate sustaining thing you can do with your life. I love each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Daryl Kemsley. This is the Daryl Kemsley Show, and I'll be back next week.